Hi, welcome to Tiny Tot Parents channel. This is the episode 3 of our series on infant feeding episodes. And here is a quick recap of where we have been so far. We talked about why breast milk is genuinely extraordinary, the antibodies, the living cells, the natural prebiotics, and the digestive enzymes that no formula can fully copy. And we also talked in the second episode on the real challenges of breastfeeding and ways to find proper support and the marketing tactics every parent should be aware of. So today we move into what happens when the breastfeeding doesn't actually work out. So you made the decision, or the decision has been made for you. Either way, your baby is going to be fed on formula milk, either for some time or for all of the time. When you're standing in the baby aisle looking at 15 different types of formula tins, each one with a different price tag, each one promising something slightly different, where do you even start? That's what today is all about. The basics, the standard formula, the one, if a baby is otherwise healthy, is almost always the right choice. Welcome to Tiny Tot Parents. My name is Dr. Shivashankar and I'm a neonatologist. If you haven't watched the previous episodes and have come straight to this one, that's fine. And the links to the other episodes are in the description. Today we'll talk about standard formula, what's in it, how close it actually gets to breast milk, goat's formula, and whether the expensive brands are really worth the extra money. If you're watching this and you're feeling that familiar guilt about not breastfeeding, let me say something. You haven't failed. You're researching how to feed your baby properly. That, by definition, is what a good parent does. Now, let's get to the information. What's a standard formula? It's that big ordinary tin that you see on every shelf, and that's made from cow's milk that has been substantially modified to be safer for human babies. Why does it need to be modified? Because cow's milk on its own is not suitable for human infants. It's got the wrong amount of protein, wrong type of protein, and the wrong balance of minerals. So the protein is adjusted, the fat is replaced with vegetable oils, the calories are balanced, vitamins and minerals are added, and even iron is added to prevent anemia. So the result is something that in pure nutritional terms, the calorie, the protein content, the basic minerals, etc. gets reasonably close to breast milk. So a healthy baby fed on standard formula will grow normally. The basic job of feeding gets done. So the question is, how close does it get to breast milk? As I mentioned earlier, the baby will get calories they need, they get the proteins they need, they also get the vitamins and minerals. And these are no small things. In fact, around 80 years ago, the formula was nutritionally crude. Today, the standard formula is engineered and regulated to a very high standard. But for things that we talked about in the first episode, the bioactive components, the gap between the breast milk and the formula milk is still enormous. The cow's milk protein doesn't carry your antibodies, so there is no secretory IgA. There are no other proteins like lactoferrin, no immune living cells. And the fat in the formula doesn't sit inside the same structure it does in the breast milk. It's called MFGM. It's actually a component that surrounds the breast milk fat in a way that affects how it's absorbed. Actually, there are newer formulas that are now adding the MFGM, and the early research on this is quite encouraging. So the gap is slowly narrowing, but it hasn't been fully closed yet. There is no bile salt stimulated lipase, which is an enzyme that will help your baby digest the fat. So the formula-fed babies have to do the work themselves. But the biggest gap of all is natural prebiotics, those different types of sugars that your body makes, which feed your baby's gut-friendly bacteria and protect against infection. Though the modern formulas have managed to add about 2 to 5 of these, the breast milk has about 200, and that gap is real. And this is probably the reason why breast milk continues to outperform formula in research studies on infant health outcomes. What's important to remember is that for most of the healthy full-term newborn babies, the standard term formula does a good job of meeting all the nutritional requirements. So it shouldn't be a problem. What about goat formula? You must have seen them on the shelves of the supermarket more and more. How is goat milk formula different to cow's milk formula? The protein in the goat's milk forms smaller and softer curds in the stomach than the protein from the cow's milk. Some parents do report that the baby is tolerating it better, less spitting, less fussiness, and smoother stools. But the evidence and the research is still quite limited. And for a healthy baby with no specific medical issues, Goat's milk formula is a perfectly reasonable choice, but there's a big but here. Goat's milk formula is not for babies with a cow's milk allergy. The proteins in the goat's milk are too similar to the proteins in the cow's milk, and most babies who react to one will also react to the other. We'll come back to the milk allergy in the later episodes. Do expensive brands actually work better? This is probably the question that gets asked quite often. Every formula approved for sale in your country has to meet legally defined nutritional standards. These standards specify minimum and maximum levels of every important nutrient. Within those legal standards, all approved formulas, irrespective whether it is expensive or less expensive, are nutritionally equivalent. So the budget brand and the ultra premium brand both have to meet the same baseline. Then where do these brands actually differ? Some use the whole milk fat along with the vegetable oils, retaining some of the fat structures naturally found in the milk, and some don't. And some include those MFGM that I mentioned earlier, and some don't. And some include the natural prebiotics that I mentioned earlier, usually 2 to 5 of them, and some don't. And some include the omega-3 and essential fatty acids like DHA, and these are important for your brain and eye development. Even the fat source varies. Some use the palm oil, and that can affect the stool consistency and calcium absorption. Yes, there are real differences between the brands, but within a category, they are modest. The vast majority of the babies will grow and thrive on a basic standard formula. This is the important question. How do you actually choose? First, for a healthy term babies with no medical issues, choose a standard formula, either a cow's milk based or a goat milk based. Both are valid. Second, check what actually is in it. DHA is good, added prebiotics are good, whole milk fat or MFGM if you can find it, it's a nice extra. And once you have chosen, stick to it. Don't change the milk frequently. Constant change of milk tends to upset the baby's tummy more than it helps. So give the formula for at least 2 to 3 weeks before deciding whether it's working or not. And if a baby seems unsettled on formula, please don't immediately assume the formula is the problem. But if you see any of the signs that are concerning that were explained in my previous episode, please seek medical assistance. So to wrap up, the standard formula is safe, nutritionally complete, and the right choice for most babies who aren't being breastfed. It's not equivalent to breast milk, but it's a good, reliable option that has supported the growth of millions of babies worldwide. So in the next episode, we'll tackle specialty formulas, your anti-reflux, your comfort, your lactose-free ones. The ones marketed to parents whose babies are spitting up, fussing, or seems to have a sensitive tummy. What do they actually do? What does the evidence say? What are the myths to watch for? If this was helpful, subscribe to the channel. Until next time, take care of yourself, take care of your little ones, and I'll see you in the next one.